Yeah. You still like it? Does it feel played out now that everybody else is doing it too?
Nah, I like it. I wouldn't know what to do with myself going back to an office. I mean, I got a 12-second commute and I'm still late every day, so it don't matter.
Hey, logging on is a thing though. You gotta be intentional about logging on.
And it still takes me a long time to get to this desk.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm
So,
telling you. Especially if that's your lifestyle. It is what it is, you know what I mean? Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
quite honestly, I can go 4 days without leaving the house, which is kind of ridiculous. So I had to work on that.
It's
But
funny when COVID hit, I went 4 days without seeing white people.
yeah,
So that was kind of cool.
well, same.
Yeah, because on our side, I mean, it's just us.
Yeah, if you go out in PG County, I
Yeah.
go to the grocery store going, I don't see white people. Only white people I see is on my screen at work.
Word, man. It was how do you say it to be diplomatic? Refreshing, you know? So all right,
Mhm.
we here. DJ Hampton Stampede, we in the building. This might be risky. How's everybody doing tonight?
Doing good.
Good, good, good. How was working all that, B?
Work was good. I told this one lady, don't bring that damn stroller back to work no more. Leave that at the daycare. I don't want to see that escalator. No, I don't want to see that stroller no more. No
She
more.
had the stroller with the baby?
No, she dropped the baby off at the daycare and then she'll bring that damn stroller to work. Bitch, leave the goddamn stroller at the goddamn daycare. Where the fuck you came from? If you bring that stroller to this job one more time, you are fired. And that is final. I don't want to see that
Bruh.
stroller no more.
Yeah, damn, B. What's she supposed to do with the stroller, B?
I ain't got nothing to do with that. That ain't my problem. Figure it out. Don't
Is
bring that
is
shit back to work no damn more.
so what about when people ride their bike? Can she put the stroller where they put the bikes at?
They leave the bike outside. You tie the shit up. You don't bring a goddamn stroller to work. Bitch, leave it at the goddamn daycare.
Wow.
Bring it back to work tomorrow.
She must not be a very good worker.
All right, well, she ain't a good worker, but she bring that thing back to work tomorrow. She is good as fire.
Have you documented it, B? I don't think you could just fire her just off the.
DC, hold on, you got to know the law. DC is an at-will employment city. I can hire you and fire you without cause. And if she bring that stroller to work tomorrow, she
But
is fired.
but you just made a statement, and that statement is covered under EEOC.
What's EEOC?
Which one?
Y'all know the EEOC
No, we know, but which statement?
about bringing that stroller to work. Now she may reach back out and say that's a hostile work environment in retaliation
Oh,
based on gender.
okay.
Mm.
All right. Okay.
All I'm saying.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
What's tomorrow? The 22nd of April. Okay, let her bring that stroller to work tomorrow.
Her ass still grass, B.
That's why I don't want to see that damn stroller. No, I don't want to see that stroller no more.
All right. Well, we here, man. This might be risky. About to get it started. Sis, you straight? All right. All right. So, first topic. They kind of tie into one another, but so there's a lady that just got a Supreme Court justice. You might know her name.
No, but I know who you're talking about.
Nobody knows her name.
Ketanji Brown Jackson.
Yeah, that person.
Yes, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson.
Yeah, justice and judge. Yeah, whatever it is. How about the vice president? What's her name?
Kamala.
How about the first nigga they voted in the office? What's his name? I ain't laughing. This shit ain't funny.
Nigga Barry.
I don't know what I said.
Barry Soetoro.
Hussein.
Real name.
Hussein. Hussein, right? Hussein
Don't
Obama.
Caucasianize that man's name.
Soetoro.
Do not Caucasianize that man's name.
So
that's his name.
You know, It's his name, Barack Hussein Obama.
No, I know. Somebody was calling him Barry.
That's what they named the movie, right? So
Mhm.
my question is, I seen it was a Obama's fried chicken, right? When the justice just got nominated and got the seat, they had just us parties left and right. Shit, I even made a flyer for my party. What the hell? You might as well jump in. But like, I don't even know if anybody like knows the like her record, if they knew Kamala Harris's record, right? So my grammar for how I'm posing this question is pun intended is purposeful. So first question I have is, do all you gotta do is be black for us to back you? Do all you gotta do
No,
is be black?
there are plenty of black Republicans I have
So I
not.
know Shannon has not obviously not watched the show before. So Shannon, I'll call your name.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Nah, I'm bullshit. Go ahead. What you think? Do
Listen,
all
you
you got
called
to
me
do is be
10 minutes
black?
ago.
Go ahead, Shan. Do all you got to do is be black?
No, no, for people who are paying attention and actually care about who they're voting for, it's
Mm-hmm.
going to take more than that. Now, will we back you because you, I mean, that gives you maybe a step up in our minds, just like our Caucasian folk who want to vote for those who look like them? Sure,
Mm-hmm.
but you still got to have a record. Um, I don't support many of the black Republicans I've run across because of their politics. So there
Did
you
you
go.
support Kamala?
I was indifferent. I was
Yeah,
in a
her.
space when all that was going down, so I didn't really pay attention that much. But go ahead, sis. Come on, Soror. But
Yeah, that's what I figured you was gonna say that, Shan. So okay, I'll reserve my opinion. Eddie, what you think? Do all you got to do is be black?
I would say
Because
absolutely, and it's based on
Wow.
the track record of gullibleness that you see consistently from Negroes in America when
Mhm,
they posit some shiny Negro who's smiling when there's nothing to smile about. They have excess amount of record and they've kissed the right amount of rings and have polished the right amount of boots of white folks in their space. And then they come out of nowhere and the media does an exceptional job of telling Negroes this is the next Negro you need to give a shit about, right? And we're like, yeah, like let's cheer them on, right? We are big on degrees, we're big on background, so it's just like, oh yeah, they went to such and such school and they work at this place, they make X amount of money, they have these connections, but we don't really know this Negro, right? Like Shannon just said, like she doesn't have a trust for black Republicans. That's a whole different conversation, but it comes with that level of understanding that you shouldn't immediately trust a Negro that you don't know. We don't do this in any other aspect of life. Point blank period. If we in the street or whatever, just like you have a like, yo, what do you want kind of barrier situation if you go into the supermarket or whatever. But when it comes to putting a Negro on CNN and they got on the suit and they're shiny and it's just like, oh yeah, I should trust this Negro because the lights are on him. But if you see that Negro at Safeway or something, and it looks like, yo, you're looking a little sketchy, you're looking a little crazy, right? Even in the suit, it's just like, yo, you're gonna pause. But when it comes to politics, when you put these people in front of us, the Judge Katanji, for example, she's the most recent famous Negro that nobody actually knows. That's just like, yeah, we got to push her forward because she's a Negro and she's gonna have our best interests with a white husband. And it's like, you got to take a step back. Once you really begin to be critical about it and not be emotional about it, it's just like, hold on. This sister doesn't necessarily ever have a record of pushing things that are going to be beneficial for black people, along with Kamala, along with Barry, along with the rest of them, on down the line. So.
okay, okay, okay. Rhonda, do all you got to do? That's a big ass water bottle. Do all you got to do is be black?
That's a layered question, and the reason why I say it's layered is because if we're looking at it from a micro perspective, it takes a lot in order for Black people to be able to, for quote unquote, get themselves out the barrel. And I think there's a lot of appropriated hate that happens within our community. And it's sort of like an initiation in order for individuals to make it through the rank and to ascend. So we're looking at Ketanji Brown, for example. I don't think we celebrated her just because she was Black. I think we looked at her intersected identity as a woman as well and said, this is the first time that we have a Black woman to represent Black women and be visible in that space. I do think once you get through those particular ranks, right, once you go through a hazing process, at that point, I think for many Black people, we assume that this individual is about us because we assume that other individuals have tested them, not really taking into account some of the negotiations that happen behind closed doors in which they sacrifice parts of their identity in order to ascend. So that's where I say it kind of goes back and forth between, it just depends on what level we're looking at it at.
But if you alluded to the crab in a barrel mentality, so why are we making these assumptions if we have a crab in a barrel mentality that somebody was for us? That's like contrary, right?
So I don't think it's contrary. I think you can have more than one thing or more than two things to be true at the same time. I think there is a love that we have for ourselves. I think there's also appropriated hate, self-hate that we've been conditioned. And I think that when it comes to naturally just trusting someone else who looks like us, I think, and maybe I'm just jumping out there, but I've seen examples of where individuals in our community will hold their hand out for a person that's opposite of our race in our community and go out and advocate for them. But when it's somebody within our community, we have 1,000,001 questions in order to be much more critical of them and their intention because we're suspicious of what they are, what they represent, because they look like us. And there's psychology around the visibility piece, something that looks like you. If you don't have a high self-esteem or regard for who you are, you're not going to be able to look at anybody, especially somebody who looks like you, Black, and see their worth or value. It takes time. I think it takes being mindful, but I don't think that it's something that happens naturally for a lot of folks within America because of our history.
Okay, that's fair. Thank you for the clarification. B, do all you got to do is be Black?
When you say that, do you mean in terms of gaining support?
Well, if you look at how we've operated, right, especially with President Obama, I mean, we didn't know him from a can of paint, to what Eddie said, but he was Black.
Right. So, with the question being posed at that as that, I would say yes. A lot of times, what's going to happen is Black person's running for president, Black person's running for mayor, Black person's running for Supreme Court justice or whatever. We as society is going to see that, oh, they're Black, let's automatically jump on the wagon and vote for this person. So yes, I would say a lot of times just be Black and you'll garner the support from the Black community. However, I look at the person and not just the color. Prime example, Kamala Harris. When we look at her track record and who she's married to, I don't know, it just makes me sit back and take a look at the situation. You're a vice president, you were hard on Blacks when you were a prosecutor out of California. You made laws that, from what society said, hurted the Black community, but then you're married to a white guy. So it's kind of like, but again, people are going to sit back and say she's first Black president, first Black vice president of America. Kudos to her. So I have an issue with that.
Okay. Alex, what you think? All you got to do is be Black.
I don't think all you have to do is be Black, but I know for me, in certain positions, I know with the last presidential election, I became more invested because, Kamala Harris was a Black woman. With what went on with Ketanji Brown, I was more invested because she was a Black woman. So does that mean that they're automatically going to get my support? No, but I am going to want to pay attention a little bit more, and I'm going to want to learn more because there is someone on the platform who happens to, look like me. But I'm also someone who's not really well versed in politics as I think as I should be, but I was happy for Kamala Harris because she was a Black woman, because she was an HBCU grad, because she did have a Caribbean background, and then I was also happy for Ketanji Brown because she was the most qualified and she was a Black woman. So, but to B's point, they both have white spouses, so then it's just kind of like, not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's interesting. But I don't
Yeah,
think them any
interesting.
less.
Yeah.
I don't think that, in my opinion, that doesn't disqualify them for me.
Okay. Adrian, all you got to do is be black.
Absolutely. Especially when it comes to politics, because I don't really care about politics. I feel like they all lying anyway. You don't know what they're gonna do. So I'll vote for the black person. I'm just not as invested into politics as everyone else. Because again, you don't know the people. Everybody who we vote in always promises us something and we never get it. So it's like they're all really puppets anyway. So I just vote for the black person.
So they're all puppets. So you said shit. They look like me. I might as well. So the superficial is what matters.
Might as well as a coin flip. I'm not about to do no digging and no research, wasting my time. Because again, they don't make no. I feel like they don't make no real decisions anyway. So what's the point? So it's literally a coin flip anyway. So I just picked the black person.
So we haven't gotten much. So isn't this a problem though? Like,
I definitely think it is. But I
but you
feel
don't
like
get.
everything, like I feel like everybody also too has like their fight too. And this is
Mhm.
not mine. So it's not my lane. I'm not about to be, like I said, I'm not into politics. I don't think I ever will be. I have no desire to be. So that's not my lane. I'll leave it
Bro,
up to those whose lane it is to address that issue.
bro, this is the Supreme Court justice.
Bro, like I said, either way, that's not my lane.
But
We all got to know our lane. I deal
but
with
she has
legal government.
macro effects though. Like she can make decisions that affect everyone if they get to her.
So can a white person. Like, does it really matter? Like, you see what I'm saying? What's the difference between her and a white man having that same role? How it's gonna affect me? I
Well,
feel like we've been affected the same way, no matter who's in there. We ain't never been given a fair shake, period.
but
So
imagine if she's. But what if she's? So if we follow her blindly. Imagine the damage she could do
as one
as a
person,
compared to a white man who we may be skeptical of.
how so? Because either way, we still don't got no say in what they decide to do.
So you saying regardless, you think she a pawn anyway?
Exactly. They all
So
are.
it might as well be a black pawn.
Yeah. I mean,
Nah,
Bruh.
like I said, I'm not really vested in it, and I don't think I ever will be, to be honest. I let the people, now the people who are all for it, I'll support you. You know what I'm saying? Send me a little fundraiser link, you know what I mean? And I'll support whatever y'all trying to do that way, but that's not
Bruh.
my fight, bro. I'm just saying.
Sis, what you think? Do all you gotta do is be black?
Yes, all you gotta do is be black.
Mm. That's
Let me
it.
know, sis.
Oh yeah, that's
I
it.
mean, why not? We've been following white people. These, we've just been following white people. We have to go through different things as black people. Why not just be black? We could vote for black people without even knowing anything else. We do it all the time, day in and day out. We go to their grocery stores. We go to all their whatever they're selling. We buy it. Why not just be black? Vote black. All black. That's it.
Wow.
Okay. I think the overarching point is we don't do enough research for anybody, right? But like Alex said, maybe we should, because I feel like we can be sheeple when we see our own people in office and in place. And under President Barack, I think we were worse off. What you think, Eddie?
I mean, again with the the illusion of choice, right? As a so-called, we presume that having a shiny Negro in front of us is the equivalent of having tangible things happen for us, right? Like the appointment of Supreme Court justice. If you're not well read on it, like that's a massive, serious deal, right? Um, if it's not a collective of judges who are making decisions for whatever case that's going to affect Americans across the board, one judge in particular over one case can, you know, have an effect where 20, 30 years down the line, we are dealing with whatever policy or judgment they hand down. So that's a big deal, right? And I get the point of having been the person who's most qualified, et cetera, and having to be a black person, having to be a black woman, right? Um, we've had enough examples where, for me, that's not sufficient. That's not enough, right? And I ain't voted for nobody white either. So let me put that out there too. But it's more so just like, is this person qualified from the perspective of wanting to do for their people? But I think, as Rhonda is it, and Shani made great points in regards to there being a hazing period, right? That hazing period, you know, being putting down your blackness. Got to do that in that high of a chamber. Making sure that you are further enhancing white supremacy as it is. Like, we're going to pay you exceedingly. You're going to be the face of white supremacy in this position. Um, and I think, lastly, and I'll hand it off, is, you know, you losing a large part of yourself, right? So if you are the incumbent for such a huge position, and you take on that position, you got to know that it comes with all this. But for the uninitiated, right, the people who just watch the news and assume that's what it is, they're going to take it at face value. But there's so much dark shit happening in the background, and losing yourself is the biggest thing. But for us to assume that these people are going to have anything to do with forward progress for black people when they're in the high position of white supremacist institution, we're lying to ourselves.
Hmm. Yeah.
No, I think that was a dope point. But but from my perspective, I don't even think voting really real, right? Like, how we know they really be counting up voting, like, you know what I'm saying? Do they really count everybody vote, or do they already have who they picking? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do we
Oh, yeah.
really know? Like, we don't really know.
It's going down a very deep rabbit hole.
I'm just saying we don't really know. And I'm a real tangible person. Like, if I can't really see, that's why I like dealing with like people and doing therapy, because I can see this. I can work with this. If I don't really have no control over nothing else, I'm not going to invest too much in it. So I definitely agree with you. I don't think she's about to really do nothing for black people, because I don't think she can. I don't think she has the power to. So I think if people are voting thinking that's gonna happen, I just think we just disagree there. You know what I'm saying? So, but I'm gonna vote for her because she black, or anybody because they black.
So what if
Can I
so
jump
what
in?
if Adrian there were two candidates that were black?
I'll probably go with the black man. If I don't got one of those. So I'm gonna tell you how this. I've only voted twice my whole life. You know, I don't vote, yo. That's not my thing, yo.
I feel you on that. I think the thing with her appointment and then yeah, her appointment and also being confirmed in the nomination, it's about symbolism and what it represents. And the fact that there are black girls, I think less than 2% of black women who are attorneys, Shannon being one of those less than 2%. And when you have a field that is dominated by white males, but yet you still have that small minority that is persistent and still working, I'm sure we could pull out examples of black women who have their own independent firms who are literally trying their best to be able to have a face, because it is hard for a black woman to even get time as a trial attorney, just as a just as an example. So I think her appointment is also symbolism, it's visibility, and that visibility I think also helps support the esteem of black women, black girls. I remember being a debater, and I got a statue upstairs of a woman who's standing before the Supreme Court as an attorney, and she's arguing. That had always been a dream of mine. Not once was I thinking to myself, maybe one day I could have been that judge who sat on the bench until her appointment and her announcement. And I think that's something that this is where I go back that love and hate, like that there's a hidden agenda. While we see this as a positive, and I'm not at all trying to take away from the accomplishments of this Black woman. I do wonder, not about her, but about the system that she's in, what else is happening. Because around that time, I think Clarence Thomas and his wife were getting blown up about some of the egregious and I think anti-treasonous or treasonous behaviors of his wife. So I always wonder, like
A
her
white woman.
exactly her appointment signaled something, but I also think her appointment was to cover for something. And it's not to say that she was that black pawn, but I do think that out of the pool, that less than 2%, she was the most qualified and the best person to sit on the bench.
I'll just add to that really quickly. We also have to think about she was voted in by Congress, but it is an appointment and it's a lifetime appointment, right? But what job she's being asked to do is interpret the Constitution. Where the game changes is the people that we put in place to interpret that Constitution. We have people who are straight constructionists like Scalia, who we were glad he was gone because like he stuck to it like we were still on the plantation and we're going to stick to the letter of the law, what the Constitution said, not applying it to like how the world is today and perspective on how these laws apply, right? Because it takes a lot for a case to get all the way to the Supreme Court. What we get from the benefit of Justice Jackson is she was raised by Black parents that have a certain background that we can identify with. Whether she got the opportunity to go to Ivy League and she met a white man that was there, we can talk about, what she had to pick from at Harvard too, because once you get to certain levels, ain't a lot of us there. But she brings perspective to the interpretation of the Constitution that will favor us based on her background, or maybe not. It just depends. Her job, which is why she was getting beat up so much in the confirmation hearings, was they were asking her questions that weren't related to her job, and she's not being asked to do. So I think we can focus more on her perspective in being a lifelong Black woman will definitely direct how she views the Constitution and directs it in her rulings. And I think that's where we get the benefit of a Black woman, not just symbolism, but actually her experience and how that translates to how she does the job we're asking her to do.
So why, if that's the case, lifelong experience, why could she not answer the question, what is a woman?
She's not being asked to
No. You said life experience and all that shit. Right. She's been a woman for she's been a woman for 60 years.
That's some her experience though, but that's
why could she not answer the question, what is a woman?
She can answer that question.
She can answer.
Did you hear the answer?
She chose not to. Because and this is another thing I like about
put him in a fucking bedroom. Get him, put him in a fucking bedroom. Get him out.
This is what I like about it. As a justice in the highest court, you are going to be addressing an issue from two sides. So that's why you have oral argument. I'm a part of the U.S. Supreme Court bar. Like I interned there. She has to sit on the bench and be neutral to determining,
So now you can't answer what a woman is. Do you understand the problem?
You got to hit a trigger point. What a woman or what a man is something that's constantly being redefined.
Exactly.
Exactly.
But a lot of times of what we know about what it means to be a man or a woman, especially within the Black community, is something that's been given to us and conditioned within us. And so to get to Shannon's point about intersectionality of her being a Black woman, oftentimes Black women are reduced to single issue analysis, meaning that we can't pursue cases on our behalf in the court and judicial system because we can't attach Black men to it or we're not seen as valued and valuable. Now, how can she answer that question? Because there's going to become a time where that question around what is a woman and laws are going to hit her. It's going to come to the Supreme Court and she's going to have to be able to judge and decide that fairly. And what I would like to see is someone who's not already biased so much in their opinion that they speak boldly about that, especially when it impacts me.
Yeah. No, I understand. I understand where you're coming from based on the world we live in. I think what conjured that question was because we're so-called banking on all this experience she's had after 50 years as a black woman, but then something she seemed like she would have known about for these past 50 years. It was just tough for her to answer. So that's why it kind of conjured that thought in my mind. But I don't know if everybody watched it though.
I don't think it was tough for her to answer. I watched it. I don't think it was tough for her to answer. I think we are in a interesting time right now to where what we are considering, or what the world right now is considering a woman, is a variety of different things. So I think for me, when I saw her answer that question, I think she was playing it safe. Like, you know what? I'm not going to go with it. Because if she says one thing, she may upset this group of individuals. She says another thing, she may upset this group of individuals. And to Shane's point, she has to answer neutrally. And I don't understand. I didn't understand what asking that question has to do with anything. A lot of the questions that they asked her, for me, in my opinion, were irrelevant. And that was why there was a lot of controversy surrounding everything that was going on with her, because they were asking her questions that were irrelevant. And she mentioned that when answering one of the questions. What does that have to do with what we're talking about here?
No, I get it. I get it. You can't stand on anything nowadays. Makes sense. Well, it's just interesting. That's all.
It's not about standing on something, but if you look at even what happened during the confirmation hearing, it was disrespectful. And I think if she had a black husband, we would all be up there at the Supreme Court building or at the Congress, you know what I'm saying, and trying to raise hell about what was happening. I think there was a lot of things that happened to her in that particular space and on that stage with her white husband looking, because there was another message that was intended to be sent. I think there's a reason why Clarence was picked to be a Supreme Court justice with his white wife. I think there's something that people want to be able to see from the dominant community, or even some people from our community, as quiet as it's kept, about how can you code switch? How much can you pass in the other world and any other community? And vice versa, is your spouse going to be someone who stands with you in your blackness, or go back to their whiteness? That's my point.
I think that's a perfect point. But
stuck out to me really quickly is, what if that had been a white man with a black wife? There are parts of our community where we would have been cheering him on, like, okay, we can trust him. He picked a sister as his wife. You know what I mean? But the flip,
Bill,
like that just always stuck. It wouldn't be a question, and maybe white people wouldn't have trusted him because he had a black wife. But he can come to the cookout, But it didn't take away from him being a white man. Yeah, it didn't take away. It added to him, right? Yay for black women. It added to him, to us. But because she's a black woman as a white man, it's like distrusting of whether you're really a black woman. That woman been a black woman her whole life, and she has an experience just like the rest of us.
Yeah, I don't know if your example is. I understand what you're trying to get at, so I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. But black women date inside their race overwhelmingly, so I don't know how many black women would champion that.
I'd have been fine with it, but I also come from a very interracial, biracial couple family. So
yeah, okay, interesting. I just want to say I think Rhonda's right, but I had to prod at her a little bit. I think I know she had to toe the line, and I think that's unfortunate. That you can't answer questions nowadays. Feel me? But all right, man. Like, share, subscribe. I forgot to say that shit last week. Like, share, subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Like the channel. Like it right now. When you do so, it helps the channel. You feel me? All right, listen. Next topic. Leading right into it because it was mentioned a million times, right? So that's a example to kind of define or help clarify or give context to the next question. So I said, can we, because everybody's black on this panel, can a black person date outside their race and still be pro-black?
Hell no.
Nope.
Eddie, you've been on the show. You're supposed to follow the rule. You acting like Shannon.
I apologize.
Like Shan
My
said,
spirits. Weekend Eve. I'm sorry.
all right, you're gonna have to hold on to it. I'm gonna let B open it up. B.
No, I've always, as I look at it, I've always seen, the black person, and growing up in the South, you see it all the time, interracial dating. And that's just a thing in the South. And I've always thought, what would make a black person dip outside of his race? When you look at how the white folk done treated us and how they molested and how they raped us and all this, why would you want to associate yourself with them? Now, in the South, I'll say it's kind of hard not to, but in terms of dating, why? I mean, if you black and you did, you ain't pro-black. No. I mean, all right, no.
So you said you don't support interracial dating?
Not no black against no white person, hell no. Shit.
And now on top of that, you saying if you did, you're definitely not pro-black.
No, you're not pro-black. When we look at the word pro, that means you for. That means you with. Okay, like I'm a Colts fan. I can't root for the Colts one Sunday, then the next Sunday I'm rooting for the Denver Broncos. Like I ain't a pro Colts fan if I do that. I mean, if you're black, you're gonna date outside your race. They're the Hispanics, but their race is our struggles about the same with Hispanics. Okay, but with the white folks, man, no, leave them people alone. Child, you can't be pro-black, then you gonna sit back and date them? No.
Okay. Alex, can you be pro-black and date outside your race?
No. I don't have an issue with interracial dating. It doesn't make sense to me though, how you could date out interracially and then still be pro-black. It doesn't make sense to me. I'm here to learn and hear a different perspective, but it doesn't make sense in my mind.
The two don't even go hand in hand.
Wait. So can I ask a quick question? So that means y'all don't support so the judge is not pro-black?
No.
That we were just talking about?
She dating Saltine, right? Now we're on the podcast. I can't say what I want to say.
I feel like I'm on the line.
I was asking Alex though, because when we were talking about the judge, she was saying everything that she stood for. So it's like boom, but she not pro-black.
No, I didn't say what she stood for. I said that I can identify with her. But to Shan's point, as you move into certain spaces, there are less of us there. And that's not to say that she didn't have a history of dating black men before, which is why I'm just kind of on the line about it. I don't feel like you take my black card because this individual has decided to step out of their race or they're any less for black people. But to me, I guess I would want to know from that individual, like, what made you decide to get with this other individual?
Okay. Adrian.
Wait, Shannon, you raising your hand? You want to go?
Yeah, I raised my hand.
She next.
I'm next.
Because she's brewing.
Yeah, absolutely. You can absolutely be pro-black and date outside your race. Why not?
Nigga trolling.
Nah, I'm so serious. I'm so serious. Like for black people, right? So if I go get a white woman, I only work with black people. The majority of my patients are black men. So now I no longer support black men because I'm sleeping with a white woman.
So can you talk black and sleep white?
What do you mean? I'm sleeping as a black man. I'm black everywhere I go, regardless of who's next to me or who I'm sleeping with.
Gotcha. So when you procreate, what happens?
My child identifies with me as being the black father. So my child is black.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you're saying yes?
Yeah, you absolutely can be for, because I look at pro-black as being for black people, supporting black people genuinely. I think you can be with somebody out. Now I wouldn't do it, but I don't see nothing wrong with it. Bruh. It's not my cup of tea.
God damn, man. You a double Dutch pro?
How is that double Dutching?
Jesus.
I'm not attracted to white women, so I'm not gonna be with a white woman. That's the only reason why. I don't think nothing wrong with it though.
Okay. All right.
Dang, Eddie, you
Mute your mic. Hey, Shan, what's up?
This is my might be risky comment.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, I would need a consensus on what it is to be pro-black in all like definitions, to be clear, number one. But not having one from the group. I would say when it comes to love, partnership, and life, I have no pro-black on that. So whoever is designed to be my partner in life and support me and my ideas and what I believe in and all this other stuff may not be a black man. It may be a man of a different race because we are aligning in a space where we are in partnership through life. Now, if we're talking about pro-black, I'm a black woman. I love black people. I naturally will align with a lot of things in our black culture that I want to highlight, that I want to see us do well as a culture because I'm a part of it. My children will know their black side, whether they're what we want to call full black or, share some other race. I can be pro-black if that's how we want to define it in a lot of ways. But when it comes to my partnership, which is one of the hardest things we all know to maintain, you got to be aligned with the right person. I'm not putting parameters on that to say I will only stay with black men to be deemed pro-black overall. It takes nothing away from me based on who I love. Nothing.
Okay.
That's what I was trying to say, Shannon. You know
Oh, hush.
Don't worry, Adrian. She said it for you.
Yeah, we ain't done. We about to go back around for sure.
Real quick, I do wonder though, this might maybe my risky comment. When you are, for example, dating, married, and you have kids who are interracial, are you looking at it from the perspective of solely black when you have to make decisions, or are you also balancing that with the other intersected identity of your child? And I think that is a question that, in terms of the pro-black piece and getting back to the justice, I think there is again something to be said for why she's been selected and nominated, because she has a balanced perspective in that regard. I think love is love. At one point, people thought that if you were black and gay, you could not be pro-black because you were not procreating and you were abomination going straight to hell. I don't think that who you love dictates your blackness. I do think that love is about compromise. How much are you willing to sacrifice your privilege and your entitlements, your wants and your feelings to be able to help your partner be successful and vice versa? And if you can find a partner who can do that with you, then why not keep it moving? Everybody's going to have their interests. So, for example, if I am married to somebody who's black, and let's say, for example, right, we just going to go in the hypothetical lane, it's a black man. Me and this black man are going to have some compromises about what it means to be black from a black male perspective and what it means to be respected and compromise on my end as a black woman. So who wins in that situation, right? It's like, we want to put race above gender. And I think when we get into those types of nuances, we value other individuals and what they could bring to the table. Now, have I dated a white woman before? Not long term. I did go out on one date. I went on one date. And the reason being, well, I mean, she was cute. But also, it was a pressure. Like the entire time, it's like, my car about to be taken. I'm going to have to fight. Somebody about to challenge us. How dare I be gay and also walk around with this other person? And being in relationships, though, with predominantly black women, I have found it difficult because we both have a level of trauma because we are black women, or even interacting with some black men, our level of trauma because we are black. And going back to this, we see each other as enemies. I know I've been kind of dragging for a little bit. I'm going to stop, but all these things came to me.
Okay. Eddie, what you think?
Hey guys, I definitely can appreciate everyone's discussion points. I would firmly say no. To Shannon's point in regards to having a definition, I'll piggyback off of Rhonda's point. You can absolutely, love who you want to love and enjoy that intersectionality, all the composites that come with it. But when I think pro-black, I think firm blackness, everything, right? Down to the shea butter, like everything is aligned when it comes to uh, what blackness looks like politically, right? Having those definitions, what blackness looks like in terms of how we're going to raise our children, what blackness looks like when you're having that conversation with your son or daughter about being pulled over by the police, right? What it looks like when you are combing your child's hair, right, and knowing what the hell to do versus, your partner from the other end trying to comb it with some other stuff, and now your child's hair all burnt up, right? So like, I'm looking at all components of blackness, and when you throw milk in the coffee, you can't fully call that what it is anymore, right? Call that my risky comment. I'm like, I'm just thinking about it from the aspect of how Malcolm X defined it, right? Like, you can't find yourself, sleeping with what has been damn near an eternal enemy, not just the last 400 or 500 years, but we're going back 5,000 to 6,000 years with the first pink toe touched Africa. It's just, it's been a minute that we're dealing with this level of oppression, right? And this level of enemy. And if you don't see it that way because the world has gotten so comfortable for the Negro, it's just like, yo, and I utilize Negro on purpose, right? Um, because I feel like this elevation that's needed for us to move forward and kind of get past some of these conversations where it's just like where you're dating and how that affects your people overall or how it affects you in your own personal space shouldn't have a consequence. We're just not there yet, right? But it's also like for me, it's one of those things where it's just like, nah, like if we're gonna build a black community, it has to be black down to the DNA strands, right? And I think that comes with a lot of things, as Rhonda was explaining. And it's like, can I do that with Becky on my arm? No. Just last week or 2 weeks ago, we saw the brother that was not fully pro-black insulting black women, and then the white woman that he was with ended up stabbing his ass to death in Miami, right? And there's plenty of examples like that back and forth, right? The sister that was in, I think, Costa Rica or something like that, they didn't even bother investigating it that deeply, but it was a white man that killed her, right? So I'm looking at all these interracial examples where, you know, again, I utilize the word Negro on purpose. You got Negroes out here trying to find love within the context of their master, and we're not talking cognitive dissonance. We're not talking Stockholm syndrome. Like, how is it that you find yourself wanting to mate with the group of people, you can even call them people, that have slaughtered just that's decimated our community the way they have, and then for some reason you just click in your mind and you forget, like, oh, this person is a good person and they're attractive and I want to rock with them based on that. But it's the level of society that has comforted us, again, use that word again, to the degree where we're kind of lulled to sleep around how serious it is to see somebody from your community with that other person. But it's also like we got to consider the self-hatred within ourselves, right? So we're not even fully there where we love ourselves enough to extend the olive branch to love others, particularly the people who have historically fucked us over. So I would say firmly, hell no. Keep your coffee black, add some sugar to it. It's perfectly fine, I promise.
Can I ask a question, Eddie? And
Yes,
I'm, and
ma'am.
I'm, and I'm truly wondering, can a black man or a black woman be pro-black if they put their hands on their significant other who's black?
Can I
Because
ask it again?
can a black man or black woman still consider themselves to be pro-black if they are abusing their partner who is black as well? Because one of the
Can they
examples
be
that
right? So like it's that stuff too. So I did mention, self hatred, right? So that would be within the context of that as well, right? So it's a lot of like dusty Negroes too who ain't about shit and don't show that level of compromise to elevate the black woman or elevate the black man, right? So we have that within our own community, right? Things that need to be filtered out, right? People who just don't have that level of context or that level of pride in being black, period, right? So to your question, like, yeah, like they're within the same vein of anti-blackness as well. Even them being black and dating black and loving black, right? They're within the same context to me, let me say that, to me, as somebody who would date outside the race.
Question, Rhonda. Were you asking that question in comparison to the rape, rob, and murder that we suffered at the hands of white people? You saying
I'm,
because we hurt each other?
I'm wondering because one of the examples was that we have a long history with white people within this country of
Hmm.
violence. And I'm wondering, because violence didn't just stop or start with white people, it also happened with Africans who also sold other Africans to white people. And I'm wondering,
Well,
if we
so
say talk about risky business, I'm just
well,
wondering.
yeah, no, you're talking about risky business, but do you know what happened to do
Can
you
I
know
finish?
what happened? Well,
Can I finish
because
that?
I gotta correct one point though,
What's that point?
because you said it didn't just start with them, but do you know what happened to Cain after he killed Abel?
What happened?
He lost all his pigmentation.
Okay.
Well, I mean, you said it started, so I just want to make sure that's damn near the beginning.
That's a religious example. I'm just going historical opposite. I'm sorry, not opposite, but outside of religious. And I'm talking from a historical example of Africans selling other Africans to individuals who lack pigmentation. Now we get into this country and we still have forms of violence that are happening, which then I ask the question, can you be pro-black and commit violence against somebody who is black? And I think that's a valid question. There's another question that I have, but I see Shannon, you got your hand on.
Well, let me address one of those points though. You think because people have black skin, they're the same person? No, that's what it kind of like what you're saying. But those people on the west coast of Africa weren't the same people,
I
right? So
understand that.
they have different progenitors, right? So
I
they're
understand.
literally not even the same, like whatsoever. So the people who sold them weren't the people that were sold. I just want to make sure that there's a distinction there.
Give me something more. So you're saying from West Africa, you're saying that somebody from the internal parts of the Congos were
Yeah.
being sold
So
by individuals who are West Africans, and so individuals who are West Africans never sold one another.
no, so what I'm saying is people lived on that coast, right?
Mhm.
But they're different people. They just may have like similar looks. So like all niggas ain't just African, right? Just like
There's different cultural ties there. I mean, I think it's with
no,
the
we ain't even the same. We don't come from the same father.
yeah, that's going into a religious, and I think that's going more into like a personal belief around
No,
that.
that's more tribalism than anything. But I get what he's saying.
But I get what you're saying with it. What I'm asking is, can you be pro-black and still commit violence against the black person? Just given from that example, that's what I was wondering.
Okay.
So I just had a quick question because Rhonda's question triggered. Okay, we're talking about dating outside of your race and being pro-black. Totally get it. But let's talk about black people. Like, just a quick question: if black people are dating black people, at what point are you not pro-black again? When, like, if a black man is creating multiple families all over the place and not leading a strong black home, is he no longer pro-black? Because that adds to the breakdown of our black families. Like, even when we're dating each other, there are some points or some actions we take within our own communities where you can't be pro-black because you're breaking down the structure of a strong black family by having multiple women or multiple families all over the place and not being in your children's life consistently or something like that. So even in our own community, just dating a black person doesn't make you pro-black. Like,
Isn't it odd to me? It's odd to me though, like how black people start to target themselves, right? Like you guys are literally targeting us as opposed to answering the question.
no. I answered the question. We're expounding upon that because now we're saying everybody went around and we all said what we thought about dating outside of your race and whether that took away from you being pro-black.
Mhm.
Totally cool. So if we've expressed those thoughts and some people said, no, you can't be pro-black and do that. Well, I just had an additional question. If we are making strong black communities, what does it look like to be pro-black when we're dating each other? Because now we've established to be pro-black, you gotta date within the race, keep a strong black family, invest in us, invest in our communities, all this other stuff. Well, what we're doing in our communities, let's be real, are we doing the best for our families, for our structures, for our investments? Are we taking, because then at that point, if you're not, it don't matter who you're married to.
My only other question, the one that I just thought about, was, can a white person ever, and let me back it up. So by definition, by virtue, they'll inherently be racist. Can a white person ever truly get to a place of liberation?
No.
Can they become woke? Can they take
No.
accountability, or will they always be inherently racist?
They'll always be inherently racist.
Yeah, it's always going to be there.
I think
but
to
a
your
lot,
example comes back though we never really defined what pro-black is.
Yeah.
And before we got on today, I was just looking up a few different definitions, and everyone kind of just says different things. But the one that I liked, and I think it kind of goes in with our conversation, is pro-black is a lifestyle that encourages the economic growth and development of the black people as a whole, with the purpose of increasing the wealth and population of black people around the world. Which goes into Shan's point about pro-black is not just about interracial dating piece, but it's also about making sure that we as black people are being ourselves, right? So it comes down to starting at home with the family, right? Are we, when we have these families, are we actively involved? Camp, you always talk about marriage and the black family and this, that, and the third. Are we doing what we're supposed to do to structure the black family, the black household, to contribute to the overall success of black people, which would be pro-black?
Okay, yeah. I think it encompasses all of it, right? But I think who you lay with has to matter in that, right? So if you're not doing one of those things or two or several of those things, you can disqualify yourself. So yeah, you have to take care of your family, right? But also, if you sleep in white, that will is a strike against you. And only you don't need a bunch of strikes. One strike is enough. So yeah, if your spouse is a white woman or a white man, you are disqualified because pro is for in all things, right? Because you are not going to be able to be absolute when you're in that situation. You have to consider different things for many different reasons. And then when kids come into play, you get even more grade in your thought, right? Because you have to consider now that side. You know what I mean? And I just think it's gonna make it impossible for you to continue in the focus of being pro-black.
So then, being that we're going by these strikes, right? So going back to the family piece that Shan was saying, if an individual has a child or multiple children, right, outside of the covenant of marriage or whatever, would that be a strike against them being pro-black?
No, what does it mean? They're leaving their children hanging? Are they taking care of the children? Does a relationship not
And,
work?
Outside of the marriage.
and also, when we look at if we were looking from that perspective, we would have to know why. See, now we're getting into a different umbrella. Why did he step out? What was going on in the marriage that made him step out and have other kids? And now we're just
But what,
opening up a different umbrella.
but what if it existed before they got married?
You mean what existed? Him being a hoe, or was him having
Okay,
multiple
so
kids?
I'll give an example. I know an individual who is black people this, black people that. I'm pro this, I'm pro that. But then he's got two baby moms, ain't married neither one of them. But I'm for the black people this, I'm for the black people that. But it's also like for me, like you've contributed to the stereotype of black people. So what did you do to not become a
See,
stereotype for
see,
black
here,
people?
Oh,
here,
okay, I
yeah.
get what
But that
you're saying.
doesn't align though.
Right,
Mhm.
exactly.
He
It
might
doesn't
be.
align.
I
Through
agree
the
that
It doesn't
he.
context of what
align.
Hamp
One
is
at a
saying,
time. One at a time.
through
One
the
at a time.
context of what Hamp is saying is that when you don't meet these markers, right, it's a strike against you. So as that individual now, because he's not with these women, these black women, is that then a strike against him, according to what Hamp was saying?
I think the argument you brought up doesn't align, and it kind of dissolves because he might be an ancient father. He might not be an ancient spouse, right? But if that family is still black, even if that family is blended in a way in which we're co-parenting or etc., like that unit is still black per se, right? But all those other things absolutely still on cue with what you're saying, like, oh, you're trash as a father, you're trash as a spouse, but you're there in terms of like how you guys connected. Um, might be the mom that might not be shit, right? Like all those things, all those different variables might be there, but it's the core of it is it's still three black people. Let's just say mother, father, and child, right? There's three black people that were still, put into a situation where it could have worked, but it did not. But we're still talking within the context of blackness. Now, would I call that anti-blackness? Not necessarily. I would just call that a broken family unit, which absolutely would be within the context of a stereotypical, like, damn, like y'all didn't work it out. It's not pro-family in that way that we want the black community to look, but I wouldn't say that it's in the same vein as somebody dating white. Like I feel like the white thing is just extreme. Like you are making a hardcore decision to go outside of yourself to find love, to find validation, right? I think that's difficult when the context of something negative still within the black pot, not a good thing, but it's still within the context of that.
Yeah,
So,
because Alex, look, religion is dog. It doesn't mean people had malicious intent or they intended to be as such, right? So let's say somebody was Rhonda, I got you. So let's say somebody was dating a white woman, right? We gonna strike him, but it's in pencil. So if he come out of that, we can erase the strike. Like people make mistakes, people grow, they learn, they choose wrong, right? And then they'll say, "God damn, that was foolish of me." One of my buddies, he was dating a Chinese person, and he's like, "Bro, I don't know what the fuck I was thinking." I said, "Well, you good, no? You know what I mean? You good now, right?" But he just had a little moment. You know
So
what I
what?
mean? He
So
can
then,
come
what
back.
is the difference then with an individual who, okay, my interracial situation didn't work out, so now I get my black card back. I get my pro-black card back. Versus someone who goes, and again, I'm not agreeing and disagreeing. Versus someone who chooses to be in this interracial relationship and is successful. Are they no longer pro-black because it worked out?
Yeah. Well, so if somebody comes back because they made it, if he got a relationship because he made a mistake and they recognize their mistakes, you can learn and grow from mistakes. That's all I'm saying. Rhonda, what you got?
And I want to pepper it because I see some of the comments. I'm not caveating the questions. I'm curious because there's a lot of discussions that have been happening, just not here, and it's making me think. So I did an implicit bias test once, just to give you a little brief background to it. And one of the questions was, do you recognize that who you date can also bring about economic wealth? That it could also bring about access and income. And then the next question was, do you think that that should now be an indicator, or race should be an indicator on a dating profile website, as though we know that an individual will most likely want to choose someone of a different race for a higher income, or individuals may isolate other individuals and keep money within their own group. And so I'm wondering, because I've been talking to this other gentleman back in New York about whether or not you can use the master's tools to truly liberate. Right? Can you use the master's tool to dismantle the plantation? So what if there is a person who says, hey, you know what? There is economic access here within this community. I am going to go outside of my community. I'm going to have babies with this person, whether it be male or female. And because of my background, I know that regardless, people in society are going to look at them as Black, and therefore they will be forced into a Black position in their life. I'm attempting to create economic access for them and also attempting to try to help my community. And I'm wondering, can that be the case, or is it still no? You're still going against the community. That's really my last question.
Yeah, niggas sell they soul for money all the time. So I'm not. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. What you think, B?
In terms of the economic wealth, yes. There's like a $125,000 gap between whites and the blacks. Who gives a shit? Create your own damn wealth. Invest your money. I do it. Yeah, invest. I mean, I don't gotta go out there and date a white person for money. Shit. I mean, who gives a shit? Budget your money. Yeah, shit.
I think it's a little more difficult than that, but I catch your drift, B. It's
I mean,
hard. It's hard making Cash App investments to make up $125,000 gap, but the point is still well taken.
yeah, I mean, I don't need to date no white person for wealth. I mean, fuck them. Need that bullshit. Hell, shit. Create my own damn wealth. Hell, shit. I don't need no white person for that shit.
Go ahead, Shannon.
I just don't think anybody or any alignment makes me less of who I am. Period. It doesn't. It's just not. I don't care if you black, brown, blue. If I love you and we have partnered in some type of way, we partnered in some type of way, but that takes nothing from me. I know who I am. I know what I am. I knew that before I met you. And my alignment to you, maybe society might look at me as less than pro-black, but that's none of my business. It's how I conduct myself and how I view certain things. So
Yeah, if you
yeah, it's kind of a mute point for me because like who defines what makes me pro-black?
I mean, if you want to Bonnie and Clyde this shit, then yeah, is you and that person against the world. I don't know if it really operates like that, but yeah, things reflect on you. The things you do reflect on you, If women have sex with a bunch of niggas, they could say it don't matter, it's my body, all they want. But if people find out that body count, you gonna feel it, right? So when you walking hand in hand with Scott, you gonna feel it. You know what I mean? So we can say it, right? We are influenced somewhat by social constructs. And like when Rhonda said, she was out with Rebecca, and she felt it like, God damn, man, I gotta, you know what I mean?
think her name was Rebecca, and if it matters, she had locks. I don't know, but
Oh,
anyway.
hell no.
Put him in the fucking bed. Put him in the fucking bedroom. Get him
You
out.
know how you young, you just like, I don't know. But
Nah, you stretched it. You tried your best to not sell your man.
Come on now, come on,
Put him in
Roger.
the
You
fucking
doing so
bedroom. Get him out of
good.
here. Come on.
Like,
Ron.
it's a social pressure there. You know, it's one of those I don't know. It's like how can I not love for me? I love who I love. I'm like, how can I not love something that's black? Right. But I also have mentors and friends who are white who I love as well. And so, but I also say like the access and frequency of me to white women or to even white men is very low. And I think for many black women, that's the case. I see it very opposite on the other end. And I also see different looks on the opposite end. I just like I said, it's a complicated space because I've been in a position where I've worked for a gentleman who had a white wife. I worked for a woman who had a white husband, and I saw differences in terms of how they showed up in spaces because of that. But I also saw how they were adamant about enforcing their blackness and ensuring that other people respected blackness around that space. That's why I say it's just weird sometimes because how, like Shannon, going back to Shannon, how are we defining it? And then also, can you really take away some blackness just because they're not doing what you expect them to do as a black person? I think we also, the Republican from South Carolina who stood up and made that.
The Scott dude, yeah.
Is it him? Yeah, who made that speech about, coming from the plantations? I mean, he has a black experience when he's making choices as a black man. Some people say that he's less black for that. I'm not going to judge that man on that. I will judge him on his politics. I will judge him on his actions that impact me negatively. I will question things that he does, but I don't know if it's my place to question his blackness. Just like I'm gonna go, a little intersected. It wouldn't be my place to question a man on his masculinity or someone who chooses to identify in their gender.
Dig it. I can dig it.
I can see that. Yeah, it just should be hard. It'd be hard for you to judge. And one point you mentioned is how the people you mentioned were. You think they were overcompensating in those situations, like to make sure, like I'm still black, I'm still this, I'm still that, I still eat fried chicken.
I mean, and sometimes they said it, like sometimes they were honest and open about like, this is what I have to go through. Like I'm gonna walk in this space and I know who my allies are and I know who's going to come and target me. So I know how to strategically navigate these particular spaces. And because white people do hold the economic wealth, the social perception of wealth or a higher status, oftentimes bringing that white spouse into the room leveled out the playing field. Oftentimes bringing that white spouse into the room backs some folks up.
Okay. I can see how that can be effective in that way. I think it's just adverse to so many innate things. Alex, you got a final thought on it?
It's murky waters. I just feel like you like who you like, you love who you love. I agree with Shan. An individual's choice and who they choose to date. That doesn't make anyone less black, but I think when I think of pro-black, I think of black people as a whole, our families, our economic status, everything under the umbrella.
Yeah, word. Eddie, what you think? Final thought on that?
Man, black women are too delicious for me to give up.
Word. I like it, man. Interesting. Listen, man, like, share, subscribe. We gotta have this conversation again, though. We're gonna use this question again because we really gotta get down to the bottom of this shit. I saw a lot of love is do as thou will, but I know from our people, I don't know how far do as thou will has gotten us. But like, share, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend. Hit the like button right now, it helps the channel. So I don't really mess with Jerry Springer, but I do like one of his constructs. So B, final thought.
I'm black and I'm proud.
Alex.
To quote my girl Issa Rae, I'm rooting for everybody black.
All right. Shan.
I'm black all day, no matter what I do. Thanks.
Rhonda.
Love is love and stay 10 toes down.
Eddie. That boy.
I'll go again. Oh, I thought I went. Love yourself, man. End to self-hatred.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I think we need to get away from the tokenism. I don't know if being black is all you need. I think I still vote black for a bunch of different reasons. But I do think we need to improve on that for sure. I think your spouse, whomever that is, I think, well, for men, I think your wife is a reflection of you, and then what you do reflects on her. So when you consider that, for her to be you and look like you and understand the things you understand innately without you having to teach her, goes so far. And there's nothing more beautiful than a black woman. Point blank, period. So like, share, subscribe, tell a friend, and we out.